right, welcome in. Because this black girl has something to say, this black girl has something to say. You know, Black Girl Say Something is my podcast. I'm Dr. Appleton, and I wanted to take this month to black talk to black women in STEAM. And STEAM is science, technology, engineering, art, and math and or medicine. So as we hop right into it, just want to leave you with some things that I'm working on. You know, we have the podcast, that's Black Girl Say Something. You can listen wherever you listen to podcasts, as well as we have Patreon, where we post exclusive episodes and exclusive content. And as we wait for our guests to come on, I just want to let you know that we have courses, that is racial disparities in healthcare, as well as racial disparities in healthcare, and healthcare is politics. And we have some other courses coming, and that's within the area that is professional development with Dr. Appleton. So as we, wait, and I'll take some time to talk about a few other things that I have going on. I own Top Notch Eyewear, and we are having a sunglass sale. And Top Notch Eyewear sunglass sale is happening right now and ends June 30th. No, I'm on live. Yes. So yes, I will just that was my son. He just wanted to know if I was on live with the guests just yet. But no, not as of yet. So while we wait for her to come on, thank you for joining. Tap the live, like the live, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe. We're on YouTube. The recap for this will be on YouTube. Also, the recap of the live I did last week will also be on YouTube tomorrow. We spoke with an engineer, a black woman, and in a black woman, STEAMinist is what she likes to be known for. So we did that last week. So you can catch the recap over there. So as we wait for our guests to come on, I thank y'all for coming into the live. Let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. Drop a purple heart in the chat. And I know that you can hear me. But yes, Black Girl Say Something here. And I just want to let you know that you can tune into Black Girl Say Something wherever you listen to podcasts. You can subscribe on our YouTube. Follow us right here on TikTok. Like us on Facebook. And also check out exclusive content over on Patreon. It is free to join and to have access to exclusive content that we post. You definitely can subscribe over on Patreon. Also, keep in mind a few other things. We are going to go live in just a little bit with a chemist, because this month I dedicated it to, of course, I'm a black woman. Oh, also, happy Juneteenth. So this recap, by the time it's posted on YouTube, Juneteenth would have already passed, but today is June 19th, reverenced as Juneteenth. And so what better way to celebrate Black excellence and Black women in the space that is Black Girl Say Something. We decided this month that we were going to go live and host or invite Black women who are in STEAM to talk with us. So at the top of the month, I spoke to Black Nurses Week. They're an organization for Black nurses. They wanted to invite my presence to speak about racial disparities in healthcare. We had a captivating conversation where I was able to present my research and perspective on racial disparities in healthcare, and answer some of their burning questions as it relates to being a Black nurse and how to advocate for not only themselves, their families, and patients against racial disparities in healthcare, as well as talk with them about that. And then last week we had an engineer, Dr. Carlotta Berry, on. So definitely make sure you follow her. That video will be dropping tomorrow, the recap on YouTube. And then whatever we talk about this evening you can catch the recap over on YouTube if you miss it. But if you're passing through, drop a purple heart. Let me know you can hear me. And I'm going to, as we wait for our guests to come on, if you didn't know, I'll do a brief introduction as you're coming in. I'm the owner of a mobile and virtual optical. I actually do a lot of things. Click the link in my bio and you can check out all of the amazing things that I have done in healthcare spaces. As I wrap up this last little note, I'm going to go ahead and invite my guests up because I'm excited to get started for our talk and our conversation. As I do that, I okay. So I'm going to invite her up. Oh, did I miss her? Let's see. Let me get my guest up here. There she is. So I just sent her an invite. But for this conversation and other conversations that I've had with other guests, you can definitely subscribe over on YouTube. Make sure you are sharing the live and liking the live if you are here. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Let me turn my phone up while we wait for her to come on. Thank you.
Hi,
Hello. How are you?
I am good. I'm trying to share.
Okay. No problem. Take your time. Take your time. I see we have quite a few people coming into the live, so that's perfect. As they come in, we'll just go ahead and get a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and get started because I'm excited. I get
Okay.
excited when I see us in spaces doing great and amazing things, especially in the sciences. I'm always excited. So I'm Dr. Appleton. I own Black Girl Say Something. Black Girl Say Something is a podcast, and it really started as a journal, but it's become a way of life where I'm inviting other Black girls, Black women on to say something, who are also doing great things. My time here spent on social media has really been a space of education, talking about a variety of topics. I mean, I talk about everything. That's the whole purpose of Black Girl Say Something. But this month, I wanted to dedicate it to Black women in STEAM. I'm always inspired by the things that I do in real life, so I bring that to social media. And so, STEAM, is science, technology, engineering, arts, all of that good stuff, math. And because I am talking to Dr. Berry last week, I think I could say that I realized I'm a STEAMinist. I love all the stuff. So I have an art presentation that I have to do next week at my local library. And I was like, you know what? I want to bring that vibe to TikTok. So you came across my For You page and I was like, oh, I need a chemist. This is gonna work out.
Yeah.
I love all of the sciences. I'm not swayed either way. Even though I have a doctorate in health science, I'm not swayed either way when it comes down to the sciences. But I did see your content, and I think it was like you in the lab, girl. And I was like, oh, I got to get her on the live. Let me holler at her real quick. So with that being said, that's me kind of in a nutshell. I want to hear about you.
Okay. Well, my name is Elian Treadwell, and I am a cosmetic chemist. I've been a chemist for 15 years now. It's crazy to say, but I've been a chemist for 15 years now. I've worked in environmental, I've worked in food, and then I finally landed in personal care, which is the cosmetic chemist end. I double majored in biology and chemistry, and I got a master's degree in cosmetic science. I own my own lab named Relevant Laboratories.
Oh,
And I formulate products for clients. I've worked with several clients or several brands that you may know, which I can't name, but I
understand.
have a ton of clients that are in major retailers. I work with small brands, big brands, mid-sized brands, everybody. So just happy to be here.
Okay, cool. Okay, and back to the education piece. You say you double majored in biology and chemistry. What was that
Mhm.
like for you?
Well, it was interesting. I didn't intend on majoring in double majoring first.
Okay.
I was on the track to go to pharmacy school, and I just knew like, okay, I'm going to be a pharmacist. And then I was like, I don't think I would be passionate about being in pharmacy. I knew that I wanted to do lab work, but I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. So I figured, I would just safely major in biology because I was already on the science track.
Okay.
And I took so many courses that when I went to check out for graduation, my counselor was like, hey, you can double major. Like, you have enough classes here and enough classes there. So just double major. And that's
Okay.
what I did.
Shout out to your advisor, because sometimes I was a professor for a little bit and an advisor at this particular university. And what's funny is students would come to me with their check sheets to check out for graduation, and I was like, "Hey, who was your advisor?" And sometimes the advisors kind of miss that. So shout out to the good advisors out there, because
Especially black women.
the advisor could make or break your college career, like for graduation.
For sure. I mean, I was very fortunate. I had a black woman as an advisor.
Shout out to
Um,
us. Happy Juneteenth.
I went to a Happy Juneteenth too. I went to a PWI,
Okay.
so to
Oh,
have a black advisor was significant. And she was like, "Hey, you're right on the right track," and that's how it happened.
I want to talk a little bit about your journey to entering into owning your own lab because when I think about labs, I don't necessarily know any of us that owns a lab per se. I know it's a niche community. So I want to hear a little bit more about that.
Um, so I worked in corporate America for a while. So before I landed in personal care or cosmetic science rather, I worked in environmental, which I have a lot of experience in, but I also worked as a food chemist. And during this journey, I, experienced the typical racism, the typical setbacks, and I just really knew that I kind of felt like this was the path that God had for me to just really follow to start my own lab. And I seen an opportunity where I realized like there were small brands that needed help on the formulation end.
Mm,
And it actually started with a soror of mine. She reached out and was like, "Hey, can you help me formulate some products? I'm trying to get this product off the ground." And I realized, if she needs this kind of service, maybe some other people need this kind of
it always
service.
start like that.
I offer this
Each
service.
one,
So
reach one.
right. And so I just continued to, as I worked my corporate job, I continued to build on the side. And so I just kind of launched out there and was like, the business got it picked up. And I was like, I think I can make it on my own. So I just stepped out there and did it.
So then I want to ask you the next question would be I feel like I'm like so excited and I have so many questions that I want to dive into. But you said you work with small brands. So if anyone on this live is looking to formulate their skincare line or their cosmetic line, how would they find you? How would they reach out to you?
They could go to my website, which is relevantlaboratories.com, or they can shoot me a DM, or they can shoot me an email at info@relevantlaboratories.com, and we just spark up conversation. And so, generally, how it works is I send over a product development form as well as an NDA. And once we have those both in place, then we sit down, have a conversation, and talk about what you're looking to create, and if I can, if I can help you with that journey. If I can't, I can always point you in the right direction. Or, everybody doesn't necessarily want to start as soon as they talk to you. Sometimes
Right.
they just get information. And so
Yeah.
I'm always willing to sit down and talk with us all the time because I'm like,
We don't
we
know.
don't have enough information, we don't know everything, and if you have something that you can share with people that can, point them in the right direction or positively impact their journey, I love to do that.
How do you find time? Like, does it? How busy? I know it probably keeps you really busy, but how do you find time for your own self care? I see like the skin is glowing. So are you in the lab like mixing? Like, yeah, I got a little something. I need to fix this.
So
Do you find
I,
yourself
I
doing that?
I do actually. I'm a licensed esthetician. That's something I always forget to talk about, but I am a licensed
Oh,
esthetician. So
you right in your field.
yeah, so
That's what my daughter wants to go to school for.
yeah, it's fun. So I've actually I do make products for myself. I'm lazy when it comes to making products for myself. Like if somebody asks and say, "Hey, can you make me something?" I'm like, "Sure," But if it's me, I'll be like, "Oh, I gotta go in here and make this cleanser or whatever." But I will do it. But I love when brands are like, "Hey, we just want to send you something." I'm like, "Okay, I'll take it."
Okay, okay.
It alleviates the work. But how do I do self care? I am an avid reader, so I enjoy reading. I take time every day to read, and then I also journal. I exercise, like when you're an entrepreneur and you're out there, especially in the STEM, which is a predominantly white male industry, you can lose yourself. You can get depressed, and I found myself doing that, getting depressed, losing myself. So I realized, I need to do stuff that helps me work on me. So a lot of times we look at like the cosmetic end of like, oh, let's just put on some makeup or let's,
Yeah.
do this and that or whatever, or buy some clothes or shoes. But the active work of like taking care of myself, like eating properly, getting good amount of sleep, telling myself, hey, you worked a lot this week, take a day off to rest, like
Right.
giving myself those courtesies, those small courtesies tend to add up in a positive way. So that's how I really self care. Like I love going to a spa. I love going to get like a nice mani pedi. All of those things. Those are all really cool things that I enjoy. But I really believe that true self care is when you take care of yourself in a good way, where you're not running yourself into a ground really quickly. You're not perpetuating generational curses. You're just doing things that will help your longevity. So whatever that looks like, I do it.
And I think it's also one of those things where it's like practice what you preach or practice what you work. I know for me, I'm in the health science arena. And so I remember having to tell somebody, I actually do practice these things. I've written curriculum on telling people like how to not burn out at work. You think I'm going to let a job burn me out? Absolutely
Mhm.
not. I'm going to practice those things that I actually work. So that, that's refreshing to hear because I have that idea as well. It's like, yeah, I'm actually going to practice these things. And I think being in the sciences, we have that part of our brain that's kind of always on. And sometimes we have to know when to turn it off, dial it back. I just was saying like how I'm learning to read more for fun and not be reading all peer review articles because I just had a thought and I'm like, I want to know what they're saying about that. But that is
Yeah, I used to do that. That was me. And I had, I've been a reader since I was like 11.
hmm
And I loved reading. And then I just kind of fell off of reading because I was like on the corporate ladder track, or trying to be at least. And then I was, girl boss. So every time I would read anything, it would be about like either healing, like, healing your body or your mind, or, healing from past traumas, or it was like how to build this business. So I would listen to podcasts to like learn stuff about business that I didn't know, or, find inspiration for things like that. And then I was like, you know what? That's boring. That's nice. I needed that. Like, but I'm like, I actually like reading urban romance. I
hmm
love supporting Black authors. So, getting into different genres. So I had to learn, like, hey, this is something that you really enjoy. Pick up. I bought a Kindle, which I swore I would never do, but because I'm a physical book girly. But I'm like, okay,
I
I'm
love a
gonna
paper book.
read a good book and just like, and honestly, like what I've learned is when I do things like that for myself, it helps with my creativity. So I have to be very creative and very innovative in my job. So to help clients make, I make conditioners all the time, right? Like I'm just using hair conditioners as a example, but I make hair conditioners all the time. I have to make every hair conditioner that I formulate different from the next. So if I am, constantly doing routine, mundane things, it hinders my or stifles my creativity.
hmm
But if I open up myself to like learn more, or it's also like reading different genres and stuff like because I love urban romance, but I also love like paranormal black fiction, and I like fantasy. Learning like these different things, and it helps me like okay, when I go in the lab, I can do X, Y, and Z. So I feel like that the arts really help.
Okay, that's what's up. And it's funny because my mentor, she's a chemist who worked in virology. She was
Oh, okay.
actually the where I was working. She was the department chair there. So what's funny is she's also an author as well. And me and her have had candid conversations. We would go out to dinner. We would talk about how we're finding within when we find us, we connect to us, and it's like they also like art. Like we're not just science, science, science. It's like we're into the arts, whether we're writing, we're painting. Like next week, I'm going to host. I pulled out all my art, and I'm going to host a live or virtual art show. Really, I just want to show my art. It ain't I'm like these are my pieces. I'm keeping here at the house, but I just do
I
like to
paint
paint.
too.
I just like to paint. And I was like, what? I just want to show my art. And so,
Mhm.
being inspired in that way, doing things that are different, enhancing that level of creativity does help for me with research and how I'm going to put papers together, how I'm going to put curriculum together, or even how I'm going to structure my teaching style. Sometimes being able to do this, invite guests on and just get their perspective and feedback from their area of expertise feeds my create like there's that piece of creativity that just gets fed. So hearing you
Yes,
talk about, your way of self care and your way of how you even entered into the field is like, okay, it's feeding that piece of creativity within me as well.
for sure. I did an interview last week or maybe week before last, and they was asking like, where do you get your inspiration? And I was like, I love the arts. Honestly, I love seeing like an artist take a blank canvas and make something beautiful.
Hmm.
I love gardening. I love going to plays and shows and things like that. Just seeing how people create things out of thin air. Because essentially in science, that's what we do. We just take,
Yes.
what we know and then just kind of add it all together. And so I get inspired by everybody that's being creative. I love it.
I had a student that was a chemistry radio chemistry major, and I had to help them with their senior project, and they had to do like nanoparticles with the manuka honey and all of this different type of stuff. And I was like, oh, I did undergrad so long ago, organic chem so long ago. I was like, I forgot about that. What you say again? So
Mhm.
it was just like cool to like help them with that process. Of course, they got an A because I was their mentor, but it was just really cool to sit with them and help them through that process and watch it, all come together um, for science.
Yeah,
You
shout
talked
out to
about
you.
working. You talked about working in food science for a little bit, or a lot of it sounds like. What was your time spent? What is that for the people that don't know? And what was your time spent doing in food science?
So I worked in food. I was a QA chemist, and basically I made sure that the product was made correctly. So we had R&D. We had an R&D lab that they formulated or made products for some of everybody. Like their products ended up in some of everybody's products. So they were like a byproduct, and they used that product to make another product. So, and they had, juices, dice blends, all of those things. And so I just made sure that like things were on the line correct, that people were following GMP rules, that the science added up, the concentrations were correct. Like I would have to take samples to the lab, test it, do all of those things. Then I worked there for about a year, and then I moved into environmental and I worked there for about 11 years. But while I was working there, I still built my own lab.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, this was good. Is there anything else that you want to share about your experience that would encourage somebody to, I don't know, just even if they didn't want to go into chemistry, but science, I don't know. There's like I have such a love for science that I feel like everyone should enter into science, but my time spent as a professor, not everybody loves science. I don't know what's this fear of science, but when I was in undergrad, everybody wanted to be a science major, even if they couldn't do math. Girl, they wanted to do. They wanted to go into the sciences. But I'm having a hard time getting younger people to understand how important science is and how much if they look like us, how they can affect change in the world just by studying science, even if it's taking a couple extra electives. So, what would you say to somebody who's like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to go into science because I don't know what I can do in science."
I think that honestly, I'm gonna be very honest. I don't think that colleges do a good job at showing how wide and how much science can affect everything, right? So when I was in college, I had no clue that a cosmetic scientist was like a real thing or a cosmetic chemist was a thing. Like I knew somebody made the products, but it was never put together like you could major in chemistry and become a cosmetic or scientist, or you can major in chemistry and do organic work where you learn how to recycle fossil fuels or whatever, right? So it's like we don't understand like the work or all the nuances that go behind it and how you can take this one degree and do multiple things.
Mm-hmm.
And I just told you I worked in three different fields in science, but and that was based off one chemistry degree. So we're not shown like the different options that we have while we're in these different fields, or while we go into like, because you think biology, okay, you go into medical school or whatever, you don't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily do that. Like you could go and work with plants and learn how to extract things from plants and create a byproduct from it. But we're just not shown those things. So I would say, if you're looking to get into the field. Like most people are afraid. So that was a big thing when I was in college. Everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, you're majoring in science. How are you going to do it?" And like I said, I went to a PWI. So it was only me and two other black girls in the classes. There was no black men there. And they really make it hard, especially when you're in school. They make it very difficult for you to even get through it because they're trying to weed you out from the beginning. Because they know, like, if you're going into like this chemistry or biology or whatever type of degree, the chances of you trying to apply for like a medical school, dentistry school, whatever, is going to be high. And we want to get you to become discouraged at the base level so that you won't even try to go up higher, you know? So I think that like in the community, find people that look like you, one, two, that are willing to mentor you, guide you, give you advice, put you in, you know, on the path where you can be successful and get and share information because a lot of times, you know, the cosmetic industry is huge, right? It's a huge industry. And I tell the girls that reach out to me all the time that say, I want to, you know, do cosmetic chemistry. And I'm like, listen, I'm only showing like, you know, I'm in the lab formulating, but that's only one tiny bit of cosmetic chemistry. There are so many tracks you can take in the cosmetic industry where you can land in a science role that doesn't require you to formulate like I do, formulate a finished product like I do. You can formulate raw materials. You could sell raw materials. You could be a science communicator. That's a new nuance now that's coming up where people are like actually communicating science in bit-sized pieces where people can understand it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like, and I honestly believe that people that do that have a special gift to teach. So it's, you know, just I think that if you're looking to get in the industry, be flexible. Like, don't look at it as like I only can do this one thing. There's so many things that comes from it. So I would say like attend, you know, the American Chemist Society has like this big event every year. I think they have it in multiple areas in the country per year. Like if it's a field that you want to get in, like the cosmetic industry, they have tons of events. They have sunscreen symposium, supplier days, um, Cosmoprof in Vegas. It's like all these different like events that happen where you can see the whole cosmetic industry on display. You know, so if it's a field that you want to get into it and like research, study, and then reach out to people. And honestly, like when you reach out to people, don't reach out with your hand out. Reach to be like, hey, I just want to introduce myself. I'm a fan of your work or an admirer of your work. Just wants to say hey. And if that person extends back to say, hey, here's my email. If you have any questions, reach out to me, whatever. Then, you know, say, hey, is it possible we could sit down? If they're in your city, can we have coffee or can I set up a virtual call with you or whatever so we can just chit chat so I can learn more. I'm interested. Or maybe if they don't have time, say, can I send you an email with some questions? You know, so I think that like becoming flexible with people is a big thing. And I think that networking is huge. So like with scientists, and I'm saying this to myself,
Girl, I'm
like
telling you,
as a
this is
scientist,
my mentor. I told you she's a chemist. I'm part of like the American Cancer Research Society, and then she got me a part of like the Society of Toxicology. And I was like,
mhm,
okay, but my field actually does intersect with a lot of what they want. So when you talked about like being a science reader,
mhm,
there's sometimes they want to be able to understand how to cross over, you know, some of the bench science topics into health science topics, and you know how to make it more relatable for the people.
mhm,
That's kind of where I come
mhm.
in.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's so much out there, you know. So I think that like being able to connect with people and creating a network is
Yeah.
huge because you never know what you don't know. Honestly, like I've learned everything from like science techniques to learning to charge what I should be charging, you know, for the work that I'm doing.
Yeah.
So you get those opportunities through connections, and like if you're not being treated fairly, and you have a person that you know that can write your recommendation, you know, maybe they work with you, maybe it's an old supervisor, whatever. Like you always want to be the expert in your field as much as you can. Now, you obviously are not going to know every single thing.
Right.
but you spend time with knowing like everything, every little nuance that you can, and then what you don't know, network until you find it.
Yeah. Okay. This was really good. We will be in touch. And in my wrap up, I just want to leave you with I'll have you send me some information because I will be adding that. This video will be downloaded and posted to YouTube for the recap for anybody who's just joining us and you may or may not, have gotten all of the information. This recap will be over on YouTube. So I just want to say thank you for joining us because this Black Girl Has Something to Say. Black Girl Say Something is my podcast. We're on YouTube, here on TikTok, we're on Facebook. We're kind of a little bit of everywhere. But with that being said, I want to thank you for your time and all of the things that you were doing. I know you were doing some amazing things behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, on the scenes, formulating and all of that good stuff, taking care of you and still being able to do such amazing work. I always say people who are in the sciences are world changers at the end of the day. And so thank you for being a part of that and joining me.
Of course, thank you so much for having me. This is fun.
You're welcome. And we will connect again because I'm trying to implement some series to kind of keep the whole going live with guests going. So when I think of something else, I'll be like, you know what, girl, come back. Let's talk about something else. Maybe we talk about
Oh,
skincare
we
or
could have
something
listen.
else.
We could have got into some stuff. I was like, I have literally put like, okay, this is gonna be an hour conversation, and I didn't know what you wanted to talk about, but I'm like,
Well, I
we
don't
could
know
have
either.
got
That's why it's called Black Girl Say Something. We get on here and we have something to say and we say something and something was said. And I
into.
definitely know that when this is it's always funny because going live is such a strange place because there might not be any questions and then it gets over. Are you on YouTube?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So
Hmm.
send me all of that info because I can tag people on YouTube in these videos. And so you'll see like once it's posted and people watch it because I have such an audience on YouTube that's not, I have such an organic audience. When I say this, probably like 3 people from TikTok follow me on YouTube. Everybody on YouTube is strictly from YouTube. And
Okay.
they'll be like, oh, well, they'll have questions. YouTube, they get over there and they be having questions and they be wanting to make connections and do all this other stuff. So I'll definitely look forward to, once this gets uploaded to YouTube, tagging you and sending you the link so you'll have access to that as well.
Of course. Thank you so much for reaching out. And anytime you need me to say something, I will.
All
You
right, Black Girl. Have a good one.
too. Happy Juneteenth.
Same to you. All right, y'all. Until next time.